Hey everyone, Tarkir just launched and with it a bunch of new mechanics. So we're going to be making decks based around the new mechanics and we're going to be starting with Mardu Mobilize. Now Mobilize is a new mechanic that basically reads, whenever you attack with a creature with Mobilize, you will then create a 1/1 warrior token with however many Mobilize you have. So if you have Mobilize 1, you make 1. If you got Mobilize 2, you make 2 tokens, so on and so forth. But at the end of turn, the warrior tokens will be sacrificed. So in the case of something like Stadium Headliner, when it attacks, make a dude, sacrifice at end of turn. So it's a pretty cool 1-drop. Also really, really good 1-drop. But yeah, that's the mechanic that we will be showcasing today. So this is a Mardu, kind of aggro, kind of mid-range. I'm leaning more towards mid-range in this deck, and we're going to go through it real quick, show you all the cards, and then we're going to play some games, and then you can make your decision whether or not you want to play with the Mobilize mechanic. So, starting off in the first slot, we have Stadium Headliner. This is Mobilize 1, it's a 1/1, and it has the ability of 1 and 1 red. Sacrifice this creature, it deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature. So it's a pretty good removal ability stapled onto a 1/1 mobilizer. So not too shabby. Also, it's a goblin, so if you want to run this new goblin decks, you absolutely can. Next up, we have 4 copies of Get Lost. This is a great removal spell. Destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. So you're hitting a lot of very relevant targets with this. Next up, Voice of Victory. This is probably one of the most important cards in the deck because 1, it mobilizes for 2. It's a 1/3 for only 2 mana. So in the early stages of the game, this is going to survive a lot of combats unless your opponent is playing something with power 3 or greater. Or if your opponent just decides to flat out remove it with a spell. But your opponent will have to do that on their turn because of the second line of text here that reads your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which is fantastic. This card shuts off a lot of counter spells, a lot of removal on your turn, basically putting the control opponent on a little bit of an off-kilter game plan. So Voice of Victory is a really, really solid card for this. Next up, we have 4 copies of Impact Tremors. Now, this is the card that really makes this deck sing. With every creature that comes into play, including all of the mobilized tokens, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. Really, really solid card. So, say, for example, you have Stadium Headliner on 1, and you play Impact Tremors on 2, then you're going to be attacking for 3, because it's 1 from the Stadium Headliner, 1 damage from the Warrior token, and 1 damage from the Warrior coming into play with the Impact Tremors. It's a pretty cool curve 1 into 2. Now, another way that we're going to be winning the game with this is with Elas, il-Kor, Sadistic Pilgrim. It's a fantastic creature for only 2 mana. It's a 2/2 death touch, and whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. So that's good. Whenever a mobilized token comes in, gain a life off of it. Whenever one of those creatures die, your opponents lose a life. So with the mobilized tokens being sacrificed at the end of turn, Elas, il-Kor really, really shines in this deck. So you're gaining life when things come in, you are dealing damage to the opponent through Impact Tremors when things come in, and when creatures die, Elas, il-Kor sucks life out of the opponent as well. It's a really, really cool synergy, and I like it a lot. Also, we're running 3 copies of Arabella, Abandoned Doll. This card is really, really cool in this deck. It's a 1/3 for 2 mana that reads, whenever Arabella attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. And guess what? That's all the creatures in this deck. With the exception of like an Anim Pakal that grows a little bit too large, Arabella is going to be triggering for every creature you have. So when you go to attack and you got all these mobilized counters going off, Arabella will oftentimes suck like 5 life out of the opponent in any given time. It's a really good addition for this deck, and I think is a perfect synergy for the other cards you're playing here. Next up, we have 3 copies of Frontline Rush. For 1 red and 1 white, you have an instant with 2 modes. Either create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, or Target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So this is a great finisher for when you have gone so wide that your opponent can't deal with your board anymore, and they can't block all your creatures. So whatever creature gets through gets a really big buff. It's a pretty cool finisher. Next up, we have Delney, Streetwise Lookout, another creature that synergizes so well with our game plan. Creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with 3 or greater. That's awesome, especially when you have so many people playing a lot of like big beefy dragons right now. If an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Again, all of our creatures in the deck are 2 power or less. Fantastic. So if you have a creature with Mobilize, like Stadium Headliner or Voice of Victory in play, you put a Delney on the table. Whenever you attack with those Mobilize creatures, they're going to be hitting or mobilizing twice as much. So this Mobilize 2 suddenly becomes Mobilize 4. And Impact Tremors will be triggering even more. Elas il-Kor will be triggering twice, 4 creatures coming in and creatures going out. Arabella's Life Drain trigger will trigger twice if she attacks. It's a really, really solid game plan, and I like it a lot. Delney is perfect for this deck. Next up, we have Anim Pakal. 1, a red and a white, so 1/2 legendary creature. Whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on Anim Pakal, then create X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Anim Pakal. So unfortunately, if this creature stays like more than 1 turn, she will grow too large to have Delney trigger double for her. But when you get to that point, you're getting pretty close to winning the game anyways, so you're not going to be too worried about that. We really want her in the deck because she's great at creating additional creatures, and going extra wide is the name of the game with this deck. Next up, we have Zurgo, Thunder's Decree. Now, this is the big guy that kind of... Here's the thing is, he's not as much of a linchpin for this deck as I originally thought he would be. He has a great ability, but the real like meat and potatoes of the deck centers around these 2 cards right here. Impact Tremors, Elas il-Kor, and also Delney. Zurgo is great though, because he's a 2/4 for 3 mana, so he's going to survive a lot of combats. He has a Mobilize 2, and his power is only 2, which means if you have Delney on the table, he's going to trigger twice. So that means Mobilize 4, and that means 4 Impact Tremors triggers. But also, during your end step, warrior tokens you control have this token can't be sacrificed. So, if you are mobilizing a lot of creatures on your turn, and your opponent doesn't block them, they won't be sacrificed at end of turn, so those creatures can then stick around to swing again next turn. It's a pretty cool card. Pardon me. But yeah, so that's Zurgo. And last we have Elspeth, Stormslayer. Well, it's a token deck, so Elspeth is perfect for this deck. 5 mana, 5 loyalty. She reads, if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. And then she has an ability, +1, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Oh no, suddenly that's create 2 creature tokens. She also has a way to end the game in her 0 ability of put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. These creatures gain flying until your next turn. So, oh no, all my Mobilize guys now have flying, and now they're creating a bunch of more guys. The extra guys that get created after Mobilize triggers won't get flying, but the creatures that you need to swing with to trigger Mobilize will be flying, making it harder for your opponent to block them, which is great. And also her -3 is destroy target creature and opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. That's pretty good too. Now, the lands are a little shaky. I'm still kind of figuring out the mana base a little bit, but this is what we have. We have 1 copy of Dalkovan Encampment, 3 plains, 2 swamps, 3 mountains, 3 Bleachbone Verge, 2 Concealed Courtyard, 2 Restless Fortress, 2 Blackcleave Cliffs, a Blazemire Verge, 3 Inspiring Vantage, a Sunbillow Verge, and a Fountainport. So that is the deck. This deck is a lot of fun to play. I've been playing a lot of games with this lately, and the play pattern is really nice. So let's take it out there, play a few games, see how it does, and I will see you at the end of this video with a post-game wrap-up. What we're playing is something a little bit more fringe. We're just trying to explore the new mechanic that came out with the new set. Okay, so what do we have here? We have Inspiring Vantage and Sunbillow Verge. There's only 2 lands. We have Elas, Get Lost, Voice of Victory, Frontline Rush, and Impact Tremors. The only card we won't be able to play with this hand is Elas, but everything else we can play, so I think we'll keep it. And we get to go first, so that gives us a little bit of an advantage. Alright, looks like they kept their hand as well, so we will play Inspiring Vantage. Alright, Blooming Marsh into a Snarling Gorehound. So this could potentially be a what's the word? A roots deck. Alright, they play Razor's Thicket, so this is Abzan. Okay, I know what deck this is. Yeah, this is the drain you for your entire life total deck. Now, this is a pretty popular combo deck. Alright, let's go here. And then we'll go Voice of Victory. Pop you for 1. Alright, Blooming Marsh, huh? And a Fairy Dream Thief. Alright, Surveil 1 again. What's Overwhelming Remorse? Exile Creature or Planeswalker? Okay, I gotcha. I sometimes have to reread old cards because some things just aren't in every deck. A Rebel-built Maverick, huh? Okay. They are going wide. Oh, coming at me with all 3, huh? Well, we'll block that because we can't block the Snarling. Alright, my turn. Let's go ahead and play a Zurgo. Deal 1 to the opponent. We're going to attack with the Voice of Victory. Mobilize 2 additional creatures. Okay, block 1 there. And there. Okay. Alright. They're going to block. Pop, pop. Alright. Lush Portico comes in. And they surveil to Get Lost away. Deeproot Wayfinder. Interesting. I haven't seen this in that deck. Maybe this is something new. Typically this deck is just black-white. I don't think I've seen an Absent version of this deck yet. Alright. Oh, cool. This is perfect. Let's play Delney. Delney is going to double all of my triggers. Let's attack. That's a lot of triggers. Boom, boom, boom. Here come the boys. Ooh, you get to 1. If I had Elas il-Kor in play, that would have been a fantastic finish. Okay, they're gonna raise the pass. Do they have the combo? Doesn't look like it, no. They are gonna gain some life, though. That's a lot of surveil. Okay, so next turn, I think we're going to play an Elas and just go all in. Alright, here we go. Alright, Dalkovan Encampment unfortunately comes into play tapped. So, what I think we'll do, rather than play Elas il-Kor, is I want to keep Frontline Rush mana open. So, we're just going to come all in. Make all the boys. Yeah, he pretty much died there. Just from the boys coming in. Okay, so my opponent goes first this time. We have a Fountainport, a Bleachbone Verge, and a Plains. So, same as last time, we have the white and black, but we don't have the red. So that gives us access to Elas, Voice of Victory, and Arabella. Actually, no. Yes, correct. We can play everything in our hand except for the Stadium Headliner right off the bat. So, we'll keep it, see where it goes. Alright, our opponent opens with an Eroded Canyon. Alright, Bleachbone Verge comes out. They play another Eroded Canyon. I wonder if this is the Izzet Prowess deck. We haven't seen quite a bit of that. Alright, let's play Voice of Victory. Yeah, they're going to opt right now. Yeah, I think this is the Izzet Prowess deck. Alright, play Mountain. And they play Breaches. Alright, Breaches thankfully does not have haste. Alright, play Sunbillow Verge. Now we have access to red, which is great. So, let's see here. We can play Arabella and Elas il-Kor. Or we play same headliner Elas il-Kor. Let's go Elas il-Kor and then Stadium Headliner. I don't think we're going to attack right now because that creature is going to kill our creature. Let's see if they try to attack us. When you cast your second spell each turn, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. If you win the flip, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. When you lose the flip, Breaches deals damage equal to the spell's mana value. And that is Johan. Okay, no, this is a completely different deck. What are they on? You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Once each turn, you may cast an instant or sorcerer spell from the top of your library. Okay, that's cool. All right, let's go here. And then we're going to go Delney. Yeah, so Delney is great because Delney is going to make it so that the creature with 3 power cannot block. So we're going to come at them with the Voice of Victory. Just the Voice of Victory. And that's going to mobilize 2 twice. Give us a lot of life. And for every one of these that dies this turn, Elas il-Kor is going to trigger twice, causing 2 points of life loss. That's 2. And that's 4 more. And 2 more. Put him to 8. That's pretty good. That's good synergy right there. Malcolm the Eyes, huh? Flying Haste when we cast your second spell each turn, investigate. He's opting, so he's going to investigate now. He's flipping a coin. Did he get it? Oh, he gets 2 opts. That's pretty cool. I like that. Oh, he's coming in. Okay. No blocks. Yeah. I have so much health that it is pointless to block at this point. Let's play Arabella. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. GG. And we get a rank up. Look at that. Bing! It's an interesting name. The Lesbrobot. Okay. We have 2 Bleachbone Verges, so that's only going to give us access to black because we don't have a plains or a swamp to pair with it. And this hand just doesn't look keepable without any red mana, so we're going to mulligan that. Okay, that's a little bit better. We have all 3 colors. Perfect. We have Delney, Stadium Headliner, Arabella, and Impact Tremors. So I think we're going to keep 6, and we'll send back Arabella. Because this hand looks like a Headliner into Impact Tremors into Delney kind of hand. So let's go here first and play the Stadium Headliner. Alright, play a Fountainport. Alright, I will play an Inspiring Vantage and play Impact Tremors. Now attack for 1. Create an additional creature, deal 1 damage, and then hit for 2. Okay, they play a Fabled Passage. You're going to tap that and go get a land of their choice. They get a Mountain. Okay, that's cool. We'll play Concealed Courtyard and play Delney. Delney comes in, Impact Tremors goes off, attack with the Headliner. It's going to create 2 creatures, each one dealing 1 point with the Impact Tremors and then hitting the opponent. Alright, second island. I would imagine they're going to play... Yep, Ill-Time Explosion. That's what I thought. Alright, discarding 2 cards. My creatures are gone. Alright, I will play Fountainport. And then play another Delney. Hit you for 1. The great thing about getting an Impact Tremors out early is just the fact that it's going to do so much damage over time. Alright, they go get another mountain. And they play an Restless Fortress. Okay. Block it. Alright, my turn. Let's play Sunbillow Verge, and then we'll play Stadium Headliner. Deal 1 damage, then you'll attack for 2, and end the turn. Great thing here is the Fountainport will allow me to create additional creatures too. Okay, sure. Discard a card, or discard 2 cards actually to get the damage. Alright. What did they discard anyways? Oh, Synthesizer. It's one of those decks. Alright, resolve. Pass. 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 Alright, 1 damage. Resolve. Alright, end of turn. I'm going to create a fish with the Fountainport, which also deals 1 damage to the opponent. Oh, Dalkovan Encampment. Nice. Attack for 1. End turn. And now we're basically at a point where we just need to keep creating creatures, and it's going to eliminate our opponent. Yeah, the Forge we really don't have to worry about. Okay, they're going to cast 3 steps ahead to draw 2 cards and discard a card. But that also taps them out, so that kind of makes it so we can do whatever we want to now. Resolve all? Yeah, pass. Yeah, we'll take the damage, because it's not going to kill us. We don't have to worry about that. Resolve all. Okay. So I'm going to do this at the end of a turn to create 2 goblin creature tokens and do 2 additional damage with Impact Tremors. And then we're just going to attack and win the game. And that's it. Impact Tremors. It just wins games. Okay. What do we have here? We have 4 lands, a Get Lost, a Voice of Victory, and a Delney. It's okay. I think we'll have to play the Restless Fortress first if we keep this. Alright, keep 7. Alright, they play a Commercial District. They will Surveil 1, so this is probably Gruel Delirium. Let's take a look. Stormscale Scion. Okay, interesting. Alright, Fortress comes out first. We'll play the Voice of Victory round 2. Alright, we'll play a Carpelson Forest. Let's play Concealed Courtyard. And play Voice of Victory. And next turn, if they don't remove Voice of Victory, I want to play Delney. Maelstrom and Spirit Dragon. Okay, this actually looks like an interesting deck. Okay, they dealt with it. Alright, so let's go Blackcleave Cliffs. And I'm going to play Impact Tremors first. We'll play our creatures next. That way we can at least get some damage going. Encroaching Dragonstorm. What does that do? Okay, go lands. That's what they're doing. Alright, let's see. Let's play the Mountain this turn. And then we're going to play Voice of Victory. And say next. Go. Tear the Peaks. Alright. Resolve that. Okay. Puts the Encroaching Dragonstorm back in hand. Alright, end of turn. We're going to Get Lost that. And then my turn, we'll play Blazemire Verge and play Delney. 1 damage, and then we're going to attack with the Voice of Victory. Mobilize 2 twice. Looks pretty good to me. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's almost enough to make it happen. End turn. Yeah, if he was just a little bit more damage, I would have definitely frontline rushed one of the creatures. Draco Genesis. You may cast dragon spells without paying their mana costs. Okay. Sure. What do you got in your hand? Stormkill Scion? Okay, sure. They don't have haste, do they? No, I don't think so. No, he's just playing a bunch of dragons. So that would have been really good if he still had the Terror of the Peaks in play, but he does not. Alright, my turn. Yeah, my turn. Ooh, double tremors. That's game right there. Next, attack. Because they can't block. GG. Yeah, you got those big ass dragons, but they can't block my little guys. I'm mulligan that. Alright. Got a Zurgo, Frontline Rush, Delney. Yeah, I'll keep it. We'll keep everything except for the Frontline Rush. Alright, play Plains into a Crawling Chorus. Okay. Alright, Sunbillow Verge, Impact Tremors. Okay, play a Mountain. Alright, we get poisoned for 1. Alright, let's go Plains, and we'll go Zurgo. Okay, they play another Plains. Oh, and they have their own Anim Pakal. Yeah, we'll block that. Actually, no. We'll block that. Because the chorus will just replace itself. Alright, let's see here. Do we play Delney or do we play Anim Pakal? I think we play Delney. We'll mobilize 4. Make a bunch of boys. Alright, put him to 9. And thankfully, because Zurgo's here, I don't have to sacrifice my boys at the end of turn. You want to come in? You can. No blocks. I'll take the damage. Oh, Duskro's Reliquary, huh? Okay. Oh, he's taking my Zurgo. That's cool. Alright, let's play this. We're going to play Anim Pakal. Play Stadium Headliner. And then we will attack with everything. And thankfully, because the Anim Pakal has a power of 3, it can't block anymore. Good old Delney. A lot of people forget that the Delney has a static ability that makes it so creatures with power 3 or greater can't block my creatures. A lot of people forget that. Okay, and welcome back to the post-game wrap-up. We played our games, and here are my findings on this deck. This deck has a lot of really great synergy, but you kind of need the pieces on the table in order to have that synergy work. So if your opponent is playing like a really heavy control deck or like a deck with like just a ton of removal spells, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to get your synergies to trigger because they keep killing your creatures. It kind of sucks. However, just because they're playing heavy control does not mean that you're going to automatically lose, because Impact Tremors is still going to deal 1 damage every time a creature comes into play, and eventually they'll run out of removal, or you'll run out of creatures, one of the two. But yeah, Impact Tremors will still help you win games against those heavy control decks, and that's kind of why it's in the deck to begin with. But Other than that, when you play against other like more mid-rangey decks or more decks that are more creature heavy, like say you play against like an elves deck or a goblins deck or a deck that just doesn't rely so much on a heavy removal, those are the decks that you're going to be coming ahead more in. When you play against decks like those, and you happen to go first and you get a good curve of like Stadium Headliner into Impact Tremors or into Voice of Victory and into Zurgo and that kind of play pattern, you're going to win more times than not, because like you're just going to overwhelm the opponent with an overwhelming amount of creatures, and it can snowball really fast if your opponent doesn't check you. So I would say if you're going to play this deck and you're finding yourself playing against a lot of control heavy decks, like a lot of heavy removal, then maybe change some of the numbers around, add in a little bit more resiliency, maybe add in some protection spells or things like that. The MVPs of the deck, I would say, is definitely involved in your curve. It's involved in Stadium Headliner, into either Voice of Victory or Impact Tremors, and into either Delney or Zurgo. Those are like your real all-stars in the deck, and cards you definitely want to be drawing early. Cards that tend to either be dead cards in your hand or cards that don't shine as much as the other, I would say are Arabella, Abandoned Doll, and probably Elspeth. Now, the reason for Arabella is just the fact that she doesn't have haste, so she can't attack immediately when she comes into play, and you kind of have to set her up to be effective. And if your opponent's playing a lot of removal, they're not going to let Arabella shine. So Arabella is a little bit weak in that regard, and I have found myself keeping her in my hand a lot. But in the games where I have the breathing room to play her, untap until next turn, and actually swing with her, she's an absolute backbreaker. She does so much damage, especially when paired up with Delney. Now, as far as Elspeth being an underperformer in the deck, that really just comes down to the fact that she is 5 mana, and this is a deck that typically ends the game around turn 4 or 5. So with Elspeth only being able to come out at turn 5 or later, it kind of reduces her efficacy. If you were to play this in a deck that had a little bit more ramp to like maybe treasure tokens to get her out faster, maybe that would change things. I think Elspeth would fit better in more of like a control shell that uses tokens to end the game. She is still good here, don't get me wrong, and I really say the only reason that she is like one of the bottom rung performers for the deck is strictly her mana cost. She is a very expensive card for this deck, so I might even end up like removing her at some point in favor of something else. I don't know what yet, but as far as that, like, that's pretty much the deck. I mean, it works really well. Heavy removal decks are where you're going to struggle, unfortunately. As far as the lands are pretty good. I like the spread of lands. There's not a whole lot of lands that come into play tapped. The only thing that kind of sucks is the fact that you are playing 3 colors, and if you don't get all 3 of your colors pretty early, you can fall behind, but it's not too detrimental if you don't get your black immediately, or if you don't get your red immediately. But you do definitely want to make sure that you get your white immediately. Like, all of the power in the deck really relies on you hitting your white. So there you go. That's the deck. I will leave a deck list in the description box down below, so you can try this deck out yourself if you want to. So yeah, download the deck, import it, play it, iterate on it yourself, see if you can make it better than I did. But yeah, there it is. Until next time, you take care of yourselves.